First, thank you to the members of the Education Sub and the co-chairs for really working creatively to get to this number. I think keeping in mind that we have the increased property tax revenue as well, that we have landed at the number that we were told at the beginning of the session was needed to move forward. So I'm really happy for that. I am, with a very heavy heart, going to be voting yes on this measure. What's disappointing to me is that it looks like, despite $15 billion in spending for public schools in Oregon, it appears that for the second year in a row, we are going to be telling students with disabilities, you still aren't worthy enough to go to school all day. Even though we receive money for you, even though you generate more revenue than anyone else in your district, even though we send your district, Portland Public Schools, receives $21,868 per child, even when they serve them only 10 hours a week. They're receiving $656,000 for kids that they are hardly serving. And the loss of that to their parents is $309 in lost wages per week, because they're mostly elementary kids and they can't go to school. Their parents have to quit their jobs and be home with them because they are being denied their right under federal law. Salem-Keizer School District is getting $1.1 million for kids that they aren't serving for as few as 5 hours a week. These kids, for years on end, they've not been suspended, they've not been expelled, and that's $1,400 a month for those parents here in Salem-Keizer, $355 a week in lost wages. For some of these kids, this has gone on for years. Today, as we sit here, there are 3 times as many of these children who are illegally denied access to a full school day, mostly in elementary school, than were suspended and expelled from school in the entire 2021-2022 school year. And I am heartsick that we can come together to spend $15 billion on public schools, and yet we are again going to say to these children with Down syndrome and cerebral palsy and autism, we believe in equity, we believe in inclusion, we believe in lifting up everybody except for you, even though there's a civil rights law that has protected your right to a public education equal to everybody else in the state since 1973, since several months before I was born. So the first thing that's frustrating is to have to fight for the right of children with disabilities, kindergartners with Down syndrome, to go to public school in 2023. It's an even sadder thing to not be able to find 31 people to agree with that notion and to allow those kids to go to school. My hope had been we would be able to address this as a legislature rather than having the court impose something on us this summer. I believe what the court will take from this is, yes, there is no choice but to put a court order on us, just like Mossman, but on our schools, because given the chance to act twice, we did not. And so it's the lawsuit, it's OCR that's acting in many places across the country. So I hope that we're ready to come back, because we will probably need to be allocating additional resources for the training, compensatory education, psychological services, and damages that are likely to be awarded. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that tomorrow children can look at this legislature that's going to celebrate tonight the largest state school fund in history, over $15 billion, and know that even if they have Down syndrome, they are included in that vision for equity and diversity and inclusion, and the Oregon Legislature expects school districts, when we give them this much money, to comply with basic federal law. So I will be voting yes, but I just need to express my deep disappointment in administrative folks, administrators, superintendents across this state and their organizations have worked so hard to confuse people about this, when ultimately it means slamming the doors shut in the face of these children who are entitled to a public education. So thank you for allowing me to put that on the record. I just felt it's very important that someone speaks for these children because, again, we're sending the money for these kids and the districts are spending them on other children, and these kids grow up uneducated, and we're going to pay for them in the human services budget because that's what happens when we don't give people access to public education.
Thank you, Senator, for articulating that in such a clear and compelling way, and I share your frustration and disappointment, and I'm grateful to you for your willingness to vote yes regardless, and I appreciate why you're in such a difficult position right now. So thank you.